If you found your way to this video, it's not random. Nothing is random for the chosen ones. You were drawn here, pulled, because deep down you've always sensed it. You're not like everyone else. You carry a weight others can't see, a responsibility you didn't ask for, but can't escape. You've tried to explain it. You've tried to ignore it. But something always brings you back to the same truth. You were meant for something more. This video isn't for the masses, because this message is only for those who have been marked by the divine, those who felt the fire of a calling that the world will never understand. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will awaken something ancient within you. These are not tips. These are spiritual keys, and they will either unlock your mission or expose why it's been stuck. The truth is, many chosen ones are walking through life unguarded, not because they're weak, but because nobody ever told them the rules of spiritual war. That ends today, because I'm about to hand you the keys most chosen ones never receive, until it's too late. And if you stay to the end, you'll understand why everything you've been through, every betrayal, every battle, every silent season was preparing you for this. 1. Protect the sacred wisdom revealed to you. Not everyone deserves to hear what God reveals to you. Not every vision, not every insight, not every divine whisper is meant to be shared. Because when you're chosen, you don't just know things, you're shown things. And if you're not careful, you'll hand that revelation to someone who's spiritually blind, and they'll mock it, twist it, or worse, weaponize it against you. Think about it. The prophets didn't shout everything from the rooftops. They spoke in parables. They hid messages in plain sight, because they understood what you must understand now. Sacred things aren't for casual ears. If someone can't honor the sacred in you, they'll treat it like a threat. They'll ridicule what they don't understand, and try to destroy what they can't control. That's why your insight isn't just power, it's responsibility. You can't toss divine gold into hands that only know how to play with dirt. Matthew 7 verse 6 says, "Do not cast your pearls before swine." Why? Because they'll trample it, then turn and tear you to pieces. You don't owe the world an explanation. Your job is not to be understood, it's to stay aligned. Let the blind stay blind. Your revelation wasn't meant for them. You are not here to prove your light. You're here to protect it, because what they don't see, they can't attack. And there's something even more dangerous than exposing your wisdom, and that's exposing your weakness. 2. Hide your vulnerabilities. It's okay to have weak moments. It's okay to feel pain, doubt, or even exhaustion. You're chosen, not perfect. Here's what you can't afford to forget. Your vulnerability is sacred. And if you expose it to the wrong person, it doesn't get healed. It gets used. There are people who will act like they care, just to get close enough to find the crack in your armor. And once they see where you bleed, they'll press into it, again and again, until your spirit collapses under their weight. Not everyone who smiles at you is safe. Not everyone who listens with love. Some are collecting data, spiritual parasites. They come not to pour into you, but to pull from you. Not to comfort your wounds, but to feed off of them. That's why, as a chosen one, you don't get the luxury of open book vulnerability. You must be discerning. You must be surgical with your trust. Even Jesus, the Son of God himself, didn't bring his sorrow to the crowd. He brought it to a few, his inner circle, on a quiet night in Gethsemane. He knew the weight of vulnerability, and he knew who could carry it with him. You've got to move the same way. If someone hasn't earned the right to your truth, don't hand them the parts of you they can't hold. Because once they see the fracture, the enemy will whisper, "Aim there." So guard your pain, not because you're hiding, but because you're healing. And what's healing should be protected, not exposed. 3. Protect your energy like a sacred flame. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, even though nothing dramatic happened? No yelling, no chaos. That wasn't a mood swing. That was a spiritual transaction. Your energy got pulled, and you didn't even give permission. Chosen one, your energy is not casual. It's currency. It's the very fuel that powers your mission, your discernment, your peace. And not everyone who wants to be close to you deserves access to that power. Some people show up smiling, but they're not there to support you. They're there to siphon you. They don't ask how you're doing. They unload their drama, their confusion, their chaos, and then leave you lighter, not in spirit, but in strength. They came hungry. You left hollow. These are energy parasites. They don't always come loud. They come needy. And if you don't start drawing the line, they'll keep feeding from a flame you were meant to protect. Saying no is not rude, it's holy. It's a boundary. It's a firewall around your soul. You are not obligated to be available to everyone. Not every call needs to be answered. Not every invitation deserves a response. Some people need to feel the distance because your nearness was never theirs to manage. So why are you still bleeding for people who wouldn't even pray for you? Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because your calling does. 4. Keep your presence sacred. Your presence is power, not your words, not your title, just you being there. The moment you walk into a room, some people feel peace. Others feel exposed. And that's not ego talking. It's your assignment revealing itself. If you don't treat your presence like it's sacred, they won't either. You can't afford to sit just anywhere. You can't afford to blend into environments that choke your spirit. You weren't made to be everywhere. And if God hasn't sent you somewhere, don't sit there trying to fit in. Even Jesus didn't go everywhere. He withdrew. He separated himself when it was time to recharge. He knew when to disappear, and so should you. And I know sometimes it feels isolating. But listen, solitude isn't punishment. It's preservation. When you're alone, you're not being left behind. You're being set apart. Why? Because some places can't handle your fire. And some people, they only want access to the light without respecting the oil it costs you to carry it. So let this be in your mind. Stop forcing your presence where your spirit feels resistance. You don't belong everywhere, and that's not rejection. It's redirection. The wrong room will exhaust you. The right room will recognize you. 5. Use silence as your spiritual shield. In a world obsessed with noise and attention, silence is your hidden weapon. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. The more you talk, the more you reveal. And the more you reveal, the easier it is for the enemy to aim. But the less you say, the more control you keep. Silence protects your peace, guards your energy, and leaves room for divine direction. It's strategy. It's your shield. See, spiritual warfare doesn't always look like chaos on the outside. Sometimes it starts with a question, compliment, a just checking in that's really digging for data. Because attacks don't need force, they just need access. And silence starves them of it. You don't have to explain everything. You don't need to respond every time someone tries to provoke a reaction. Jesus didn't argue with his accusers. He didn't go back and forth. He stood silent because his identity didn't need validation. And neither does yours. Chosen ones move differently. We don't react, we discern. We don't speak from ego, we wait for spirit. Because when you speak too soon, you scatter your energy. When you stay silent, you gather it. 6. Discretion is your defense. Every time you post a breakthrough too early, every time you announce a plan that hasn't been rooted, you invite forces, seen and unseen, to touch what God was still building in silence. Some things aren't meant to be shared. Not yet. Because just like a seed needs darkness to grow, your calling needs privacy to develop strength. People love unfinished stories. Not to celebrate them, to sabotage them. That's why even your romantic and spiritual connections need covering. Not exposure. Not performance. Protection. Hold back. Move in silence. Let the results speak for you when the time is right. Because if you don't learn how to protect what's private, you'll keep bleeding what was meant to bless you. And here's the thing, if you don't master what I'm about to say next, all of these secrets will collapse. Stay with me. 7. Master your emotions or be mastered. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to trigger you. One reaction, one emotional spiral, one moment of misplaced rage or fear. That's all it takes to pull you out of alignment and off your mission. Your emotions are powerful, but power without direction, that's a wildfire. And if you don't master what moves you, someone else will. The spiritual battlefield isn't always out there. A lot of it happens inside, right between your chest and your mind. You can't afford to ignore what you feel, but you also can't let what you feel take the wheel. Mastery doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means learning to read them and redirect them. Anger, when it's righteous, it can birth justice. Sadness can grow compassion. Even disappointment can sharpen discernment if you know how to hold it. But if you lash out, if you react too soon, you'll burn bridges that God built for your future. Even Moses, divinely chosen, miracle-working Moses, missed the promised land because of a moment of emotional misalignment. He struck the rock when God told him to speak. Don't make the same mistake. You weren't called to be perfect, but you were called to be disciplined. So check your heart before you speak. Pause before you act. And remember, stillness is not weakness, because when you master your emotions, you stop being a target and start moving like a weapon. 8. Maintain balance in all things. Have you ever felt pulled in every direction, like you're doing everything for everyone but slowly unraveling inside? That's not spiritual strength. That's spiritual drift. As a chosen one, you're walking between two realms, the seen and the unseen. And if you don't find balance, one of them will consume you. You can't live entirely in the clouds. And you can't drown in the noise of this world either. Balance is how you stay rooted while reaching upward. You pray, but you also pause. You show up for others, but you know when to pull back. You serve, but you also sleep. Because burnout isn't noble, it's disobedience in disguise. God didn't call you to run yourself into the ground. He called you to walk in alignment, not exhaustion. There is power in pacing yourself. When to give, when to rest, when to listen, when to retreat. Jesus modeled that. He didn't rush every moment. He moved with rhythm, with clarity. And he knew that balance was part of the mission. You need a spiritual rhythm that nourishes you, not just others. Because when you're off balance, your discernment dulls, your peace weakens, and suddenly you're surviving instead of leading. So don't just manage your time, protect your center. Balance is what holds your power together. 9. Recognize and stand against spiritual attacks. The moment you awaken to your calling, you become a target, not just to people but to principalities. You carry light so darkness pays attention. And spiritual attacks? They don't always come with thunder and lightning. Sometimes, they show up as confusion that won't lift, anxiety that makes no sense, or a fog that separates you from everything that once felt clear. That's warfare. So you've got to treat your spirit like it's worth protecting, because it is. That means praying before the attack, not just after. It means using what God already gave you, His word, your discernment, and the armor of His presence. The Lord's Prayer isn't poetry. It's a weapon. When you declare, "Deliver us from evil," you're not reciting, you're resisting. Some of you are under fire right now and don't even know it. You've just been calling it a rough season, but spiritually, you've been open, exposed, drained, and the enemy loves when you normalize what you should be casting out. So cleanse your atmosphere, speak life over your space, anoint your doorway, call on heaven, because the moment you stop protecting yourself, that's the moment you get spiritually ambushed. 10. Stay connected to the divine. This is the foundation of all other secrets I've told you so far. None of it will matter if this isn't in place. Because without divine connection, even the chosen will be spiritually dry. Even the strong collapse. Even the gifted fall out of alignment. Your mission, your real mission, only activates when your connection to God is constant. I'm not talking about routine. This isn't about checking a box or praying out of guilt. I'm talking about spiritual oxygen. Breathing Him in, listening for direction, walking in step with something greater than your thoughts, your moods, your doubts. Because prayer isn't a chore. It's not a habit. It's a portal. It's the access point that brings clarity when your mind's spinning. It's where power comes from when your strength runs out. And it's where peace meets you when the world forgets you. Chosen one, you were never meant to carry all of this on your own. But you were meant to stay plugged in. Not when it's convenient. Not when things go wrong. Always. God doesn't move on your timing. He moves on your trust. That's why surrender isn't weakness. It's strategy. Because when your soul stays glued to the divine, nothing can take you off course for long. And let me say this clearly. Chosen ones don't walk alone, but they must walk connected. Everything I just told you is useless without action. These 10 spiritual secrets are not just ideas, they're armor. And now they're yours. But armor only works if you wear it. You are rare, protected, watched, chosen. Be committed to your calling. Protect your path. Guard your fire. The world is watching, but heaven is backing you. With these 10 secrets, you now carry what most never receive: discernment and protection for the path ahead. Use it. Guard it. Because no matter what it looks like, no matter how hard it gets, you are not alone. Divine forces walk with you. You made it this far because you were meant to. This message found you because you're ready. So subscribe to the channel as a sign that you've crossed this threshold. And comment, "I am chosen. I will not be moved." Say it out with faith as you type it. And don't forget to hit the like button, so this message can reach other chosen ones still searching for confirmation. Thank you for watching.